Hello, India's Prime Minister is grappling with his biggest domestic challenge since coming to power in 2014. Narendra Modi has been chairing a council of ministers to discuss the growing protests over a new citizenship law that excludes Muslims. Thousands of people continue to rally across India despite restrictions and bans imposed by officials. At least 19 people have been killed and more than 4,000 detained since last week. Much of the violence on Friday was in the northern state of Uttar Pradesh. That's where protesters set fires and hurled rocks. And police have been accused of using excessive force. Demonstrations have been largely peaceful in states controlled by the opposition. That's where regional leaders say they won't implement the new law. On Friday, thousands took part in a rally in West Bengal. The state chief minister is a fierce opponent of Modi.
Modi government wants one religion to be separated. We won't let that happen. We are united.
Let's get an update from SUBINA SHRESTHA. She's joining us live from New Delhi to talk us through where you are, what you've been seeing, SUBINA.
So I've been standing in front of the Jamia Millia Islamia University, where some of the first protests began. And today the mood has been one of defiance. There have been thousands of students, along with people from all walks of life, civilians who joined in, lawyers who joined in, and everybody has been talking not only about the constitution law, the citizenship law, but also and mainly about the constitution of this country, which has been built on the basics of this constitution is equality, and the basis of this constitution is also secularism. So that is what people over here have been reminding the country of, that the fabric of this nation is being challenged by this government by introducing this new law.
All right, SUBINA, thank you for that update from New Delhi. Just a reminder now of what's in the law, why it's caused widespread opposition. So it creates a pathway to citizenship to minorities who face religious persecution in Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. But it excludes Muslims. Opposition parties and protesters say it violates India's secular constitution. But that's not the only dynamic playing out in states bordering Bangladesh. West Bengal is controlled by an opposition party. The ruling BJP is being accused of seeking electoral gains for the regional vote due in 2021 by opening the door to more Hindu refugees and migrants. While in nearby northeastern states, especially Assam, indigenous people fear an influx of Hindu Bengalis. They say that could put their language and culture under threat. Let's speak to Avinash Kumar. He's the Executive Director of Amnesty International India. He's joining us via Skype from New Delhi. Thanks for your time with us on the Al Jazeera News Hour. First, just give me your reaction to the developments of India over the past few days and ever since the introduction of this new law.
Thank you very much. First of all, as you rightly said, there's a huge protest precisely because it not only violates the Constitution of India, the principles, basic principles like Article 14, which gives right to equality to all its citizens, right to Article 21, which actually gives right of protection against any temporary arbitration and prevention of deprivation of liberty and so on. But also the fact that it is actually a violation of International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, where actually what is happening is that people's right to peaceful assembly, peaceful protests are also being violated. I think there are two parts of the story. One, the Constitutional Amendment Act, which is obviously making a difference between non-Muslims and the Muslims. And the second, its implications with the government's promised NRC, National Register of Citizens, which says that they will do a nationwide NRC, selecting and targeting especially those who are supposedly illegal migrants, which has huge implications for a large minority population across this country.
What are the implications?
Implications are first that if you go by what happened in Assam, which was a statewide NRC which was implemented there, and about 1.9 million people were rendered without citizenship, out of which a majority of them are women. Huge numbers of them majority of them are Hindus. About 140,000 people out of that list are ethnic tribal communities and so on. And what is the implications is not just that it's anti-minority and anti-Muslim, but implication is also that it's anti-poor. because the law requires, NRC requires that you prove your ancestry through 3 generations going beyond, where you have to show your ancestry belonging to your grandparents from both the sides. And if that is going to happen in this country where you have huge number of chaos around basic identity papers, especially in rural areas, for the poor, you can't expect the poor and the rural areas, people living in women, most marginal communities, Muslims, Dalits, to actually be able to produce those identity papers and produce their citizenship. So
Right.
it's in effect going to be very, very exclusive in its results.
And let me ask you this, from what you've documented on the ground, you're calling it a crackdown. You're calling on the Indian government to stop the crackdown on peaceful protests against the citizenship law. So what have you documented on the ground? And also the accusation put by some towards the Indian government is that they're trying to stifle free speech. Is that a real concern that you've seen?
Of course, there's a real concern because what is happening, we have seen increasingly, right, from the Jamia Millia University crackdown in Delhi to Aligarh Muslim University crackdown in Uttar Pradesh and Aligarh to the crackdown which has happened across the cities now, across India now. What you're seeing increasingly is not only that people have increasingly lost their lives. There are unconfirmed reports ranging between 14 to 20 people having lost their life, but hundreds of them actually facing physical injuries. Police entering inside libraries, throwing tear gas shells and canisters, using rubber bullets and even firearms, shooting them inside university colleges and campuses and so on. So there's a widespread report on that. Our own teams have documented live interviews, which we are going to release shortly, about how people have faced unprovoked violence from state and its various arms. And that's a clear violation of people's and students' right for peaceful protest. And that's a very fundamental right which the Indian Constitution guarantees to its citizens. So does International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights.
All right, we'll leave it there. We thank you very much, Avinash Kumar, for joining us from New Delhi. Thank you.